When you experience abuse and trauma, it takes away your voice, your power, and your relationships. I didn't have a voice and I didn't have power, nor did my mother have power. So the violin was supposed to give me power, which it did, and I never looked back. And it gave me relationships and a voice. It was my way of survival. I would practice so many hours. I had an infection in my neck, and I would put that violin next to that and practice 10, 12, 15 hours in a day.
How does abuse take away your voice?
Well, wow. I survived in my house by being invisible.
I thought the old man was going to hit me. And I took my glasses off.
Yeah, not cornered, but he was up against,
he was red-faced. Because I was trying to tell him the gospel.
You were sharing about Jesus, and then you just calmly came in the kitchen. I'll never forget, you asked Mom, does your father have a gun?
Because he had stormed upstairs. Yeah. She said yes. She said, we're out of here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we all jumped in our station wagon and took off. I'll never forget
10
that.
and 8 years old, yeah.
Today we have some very special guests on our podcast for you guys. It is Jeremy's parents, Charles and Diana.
Yeah, we talk about some childhood memories. They share some embarrassing stories, of course. We also get into my mom's difficult upbringing, some of the trauma and abuse that she endured and witnessed, and how that has driven her to using her skills, her gifts as a professional violinist to serve the most vulnerable people in our society. You won't want to miss this episode. It's very powerful. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? We're back for another episode of the Jinger and Jeremy podcast, and we've got my favorite guests.
Yeah, we have some very special guests. We have Jeremy's parents, Dad and Mom Vuolo, Chuck and Diana Vuolo.
Or Charles and Diana, as we sometimes identify ourselves as.
Yes.
Royalty.
Yeah, there's a certain generation that rings a bell for, and then others, they don't
look at us and say, so? No, don't you get it? Charles and Diana.
It is an easy way to remember your names.
That's why we originally did it, to give people a handle. Now it helps sometimes. It's an age-related thing.
I love it.
Sure. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, great to be here. I enjoy every one of your podcasts. Listen to them every week.
Are you going to listen to this
Dad.
one? We'll see how it goes.
You'll see how it goes. If you're anything like us, we don't really like the sound of our own voice. Ginger, I'll be playing something for the podcast.
He's like editing something.
Or putting a clip up on social media, and she'll be like, oh, what is that? Like, it's you.
Can't listen to it. Can't listen back.
Remember when we used to have voicemails?
Yeah.
Like in the
answering
machines.
Right.
I know what it is.
With the landline.
Answering machine. Yes, with the landline. And I remember when I got my first cell phone, I was 14. Chuck and I shared one. And I had to do a voicemail, and I could not do it. I hated how it sounded. And then I would hear my own voice and be like, that's not me. That's not what I sound like.
So fascinating.
Did you ever go through that?
Oh, yeah, totally. Hearing your own voice is just, it's weird.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't listen back.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see if you listen back, Dad, after this after this podcast. We'll see how it
goes. At least start listening. Whether I turn it off, we'll see.
Thanks for hanging out.
Great to be here.
Yeah, Mom and Dad Vuolo are so great about coming in to visit us. You guys come in every 2
they don't
to 3
come in, let's
months
be
or
honest,
so.
they don't come in to visit us.
We know, but they come in to visit the kiddos and us.
Well,
and it's kind of great. But
we're here as a byproduct.
yeah, for sure. No, we really enjoy hanging out with Mom and Dad Vuolo. They make it such a point to come all the way across the country to visit us and to be present. The kiddos adore them, love them when they come. And we're all sad when they have to go home. So,
Well, we think it's pretty awesome that you'll actually have us in your house for 10 days.
it's so
overnight,
fun.
all the
It is
time.
so fun. Yeah, we're so thankful you
thank
guys
you.
make it a point to do that. Until we can get you to move to LA, that's the best, we can do.
We're working on
I
it.
wish we could. Yeah.
The, It's funny, it throws off our mornings because some mornings I'm up before the kids, but some, like the other day, it was Saturday, which is a normal sleep-in morning, and the girls come in and watch cartoons. And I just kept sleeping. And every 30 minutes, I'd check my phone, like, when are the girls going to come in? And then it's like 8 o'clock. And I'm like, this is so late. So I get up, like, the girls are asleep. No, they've been with Grandma and Grandpa for like an hour and a half.
It's crazy.
They ran into your room.
Yeah. Well, Mom set the precedent years ago that virtually every morning she has something under our pillows for each of the girls. And they are
Very
trained.
special.
I mean, she's got to live up to it now. Every morning, whenever they get up, knock on the door, come in. what's under the
There's
pillow.
a surprise under the pillow.
So
It is so special, and it helps them.
she's keeping the dollar stores in business.
Yeah, for sure. And it actually is something that they look forward to so much, and it helps them get to bed most of the time, helps them get to bed easier.
That's true.
So it's kind of great.
Well, it helps them to get to bed easier because you get to tell them, hey, you get a surprise in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so sweet.
They love having you guys here. You guys are the best grandparents. We want to hear, we want to go through your journey. So we want to hear how you guys met. I think both of your stories of how you came to know Jesus, how you came together. Dad, you've been in ministry for over 4 decades.
Yeah, that's safe to say, for sure.
And so I know there's a lot of lessons there. Mom, you have a passion with your nonprofit SWAN for Kids, for serving children whose parents have a history of incarceration. So we want to hear from you on all of that and get that background. But we do want to start with raising me and my brother and sister.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually kind of curious, because now that I'm raising 3 kids, we have a little boy who's now our number 3. And I have to know, are there any crazy stories of raising a little Jeremy? Or any of the siblings.
Anything we can expect.
What do I prepare myself
nervous,
for
'cause I was
with baby
there.
Finn?
Yeah, well, first of all, baby Finn looks identical to baby Jeremy. It's
wild.
really, it's like a deja vu for me as mom, because I look at him and go, that's Jeremy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but Jeremy was a real happy-go-lucky kid, as he still is. I mean, you're a happy, fun-loving guy. And we saw that in him when he was really little.
That's so sweet.
Very fun-loving. But I scared him to death one time. He was also, like most boys, they're going to explore. And I used to teach violin lessons out in the country. Some of our friends had a country home, and so it worked out well. I taught the girls violin while all the guys played out on the pond. They were able to...
What was that family's name?
Terrell.
Terrell, yep, I remember.
They had a boat, like a little boat. So for the guys at a young age to be able to get on that boat and go in the pond was like an adventure. So they had a lot of adventures there while I was teaching violin. And one time I came out and Jeremy was so excited. He had something to show me. So I go to the shore of the pond and there's this bat laying on its back. And it's
a big bat.
It's hissing and foaming at the mouth, making hissing and foaming at the mouth, and it was obviously sick. It looked like rabies to me. And he goes and picks it up by the wing, and I freaked because I'm going, Jerry, don't do that.
You're gonna
because it was just pure fear went through my body because he's now touching a rabid bat.
Oh, gross.
Right. So
I remember this like it was.
Oh well, yeah, because I probably traumatized him, right?
Yeah, but it's good.
So you can't do that, And I was really scared because it was definitely rabid, right? So then, we got over that. He had his life lesson on rabid bats, and then that night I put him to bed, and then I heard this big crash, bang! I ran up. Jeremy had this lightweight table near his window next to his bed he loved plants. So it had little cacti, and other little plants there. And
I love dangerous plants, the cactus.
Yeah. And in his sleep, he woke up and I had scared him that day. So he had some sort of nightmare or something, right? Because I had traumatized him from the bat story. And he got up and he flung that lightweight table, and I came into the room and there were potting soil, and the whole table was over with potting soil and plants and cactus all over the floor. And he was in his sleep.
Yeah.
He's still in his sleep. He was, and I knew I had done that to him. So,
did we talk about it the next morning or what?
We must have, but I
was looking for the bat,
I felt so bad. You probably were looking for the bat.
He's a sleep talker and a sleepwalker. We know that about him.
Yeah.
So he will constantly talk in his sleep, and here and there. He's gotten a little bit better. The more tired he is, he doesn't walk around in his sleep as often.
Yeah.
But whenever we were first married, he did. He would get up and walk around, especially after we had Felicity. He was sleep deprived. And he would get up and walk around. Where is she? Where is she? And I was like, go back to bed. It's okay. Everything's taken care of. But it scared me because I was like, I don't want you to grab the baby when you're half asleep or you're sleepwalking.
Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break from the episode to talk to you about Cozy Earth.
We've told you guys about Cozy Earth before and how We are in love with their bamboo sheets. They are next level quality and they will make you sleep so much better.
And our love for these sheets is infectious, not just to you guys, because I know a lot of you guys are buying them and have bought in to these sheets, but to our daughters. Now our girls sleep on them and love them.
They have to have their Cozy Earth sheets on. And also, any of our guests who come stay in our guest room, they always ask us, where'd you get the sheets? One of our last guests that came and stayed, I actually sent them home with a set of the sheets because they were so nice.
It's a little upsetting for me, but...
I know, but I was like, yes, you need these sheets and you need them now. So I sent them home with a set and they were super excited about them.
Guys, you're going to see enhanced sleep quality. You're going to see mood regulation. You're not going to have night sweats. These sheets are incredible. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to go to CozyEarth.com, use code GINGER, Jinger, for 40% off. They offer a 100-night sleep trial. Try them during the hottest nights of the year. If you're not satisfied with them, send them back, get them reimbursed. Also, there's a 10-year warranty on all bedding products. A 10-year warranty on sheets. So go to CozyEarth.com, upgrade your summer. Use code GINGER for 40% off their best-selling temperature-regulating sheets, apparel, and more. Trust us, you'll feel the difference the very first night. All right, guys, we want to take a quick break from this episode to talk to you about lean. Have you heard of Karalema? It is an edible cactus that grows in India, and it's a natural appetite suppressant. Well, it's just one of the natural ingredients that doctors have added to lean, which is a remarkable weight loss supplement. If you have a bold summer weight loss goal, but injections aren't for you, here's what the doctors who formulated lean said.
They said this supplement is as close as we've ever come to benefits of those popular injections. Like injections, lean was created to help maintain healthy blood sugar and help control appetite and cravings.
But the rare ingredients in lean also help burn fat by converting fat into energy. And the best part, no needles, just good results.
Let's get you started with 20% off. Use my code GINGER20 at TAKELEAN.com. That's my code GINGER20 at TAKELEAN.com.
Yeah, and just to clarify, these statements haven't been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And it's not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider.
Now back to the episode.
Yeah, well, he had another sleepwalking adventure where I heard him get up. So because of that, I got up right away. Like I just popped out of bed. And he was having a dream that his soldiers were in danger and he had to protect his camp. So he got out of bed, but he was sleepwalking, and his big comforter was around his leg. So he was dragging this comforter. I've got to get to my soldiers. Got to get to my soldiers. And he was at the very top of the stairs. Oh, no. That's when I caught him, because if he would have started walking down the stairs, sleepwalking with that comforter dragging on his leg, he would have fallen. So I just turned him around and I said, your soldiers are safe. They're in the camp. I'll take you to them.
Which was a lie, Mom.
Which was a lie. And I just played into the story.
First and last time, Mom never lied.
Him back to his bed.
They were not
the
safe.
Soldiers were safe. But I always had to be like aware. Aware, and I would pop out of bed like in an instant.
Wow, that's crazy.
Leadership gifts.
Were Chuck and Val like that at all?
Oh, yeah.
Did Chuck sleepwalk?
Yeah, Chuck would sleepwalk. Again, I must have some intensity when I'm instructing you guys, because during the summer I thought, okay, my boys are going to learn how to do things. They're going to be able to manage, practical things in the house. So I said, hey, Chuck, this summer I want to teach you how to do the laundry. So I taught him how to load up the laundry basket, take it down to the basement, did the laundry, took it outside and hung it up. I just wanted my boys to be good helpers, right? So that their wives would be happy wives. They'd know how to do stuff. So I went through this whole process that day. And so then that night we were sitting downstairs and I heard some commotion upstairs, knowing my boys are sleepwalkers. No. I ran up the steps and Chuck is there. The toilet lid is open. He's staring at it. He's in his sleep. And I'm looking in, and our laundry from the laundry bin was in the toilet. It was in the toilet, and he was staring there because he was confused. Now what? Now what do I do?
He's looking for
it. Turn this thing on.
Looking for the detergent.
So he'd taken the clothes out of the hamper, put it in the toilet, and he was just staring. And so I knew he was still asleep, right?
Oh,
so
my
I couldn't
goodness.
blame the kid for putting our laundry in the toilet.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
I said, you did a great job, Chuck. You know, okay, good job. Let's go. You can go to sleep now. So I guided him back to sleep, and I'm taking the laundry out of the toilet.
That is crazy.
Wow, was I too intense when I was telling you?
That is amazing.
Got to tell the therapeutic putty story with
So you
Jeremy,
can tell
okay?
that
So
one.
I'll start it and you can finish it.
We had a great time, by the way, Brazen.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's entertaining.
Yeah, I was playing some basketball and I jammed one of my fingers. And so I was given some red therapeutic putty, as therapy for my finger. So we tried to make dating a fairly regular habit. And at one point, we must have been fairly hard pressed for a babysitter. So dear Mrs. Tompkins, who was in her 80s from our church.
Are you able to say that?
He's going to lose it. When my dad loses it.
Okay,
I
so
love
I'll help you out. So
I'll say a little bit more.
So
Mrs. Tompkins.
he can't do that. That's what always happens.
She was babysitting
so
the
great.
kids.
We're going to need tissues for another reason.
Okay, so I'm going to have to take over now. So Mrs. Tompkins comes. She's in her 80s.
I don't know why
She takes
she's
care of
so
the kids. And she puts the kids to bed. And Jeremy was like about 3 years old. And he was playing with the therapeutic putty. And so Jeremy went to bed with the therapeutic putty. He must have been like thinking this was really great.
Yeah.
But then somehow it landed near his head, and the heat from his head melted the putty and bonded it virtually to his skull.
Scalp. Ugh.
Okay. But then in the morning, like it was cool, right? So the putty got cold and hardened. So Jeremy, who's only like 3 years old, had a habit of running out of his bed, jumping in bed with mom at like 5 a.m. when it was still dark for a cuddle until I woke up, right? So he comes into my bed and it's dark and it's cold and he jumps in my bed and I felt his little head and it just felt like a giant scab on the top of his skull. I mean, a thick scab because it had melted and spread. And then it hardened.
Oh, that's so
And I freaked out. I immediately jumped out of bed and put on the light. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, this red putty had melted. It was like a skull cap all over his, but I couldn't move it. I mean, I was thinking, okay, how do I get this off of his head? Because there wasn't room between where it was.
Yeah, you could
I couldn't give him a buzz cut. It was bonded. And I virtually I had no clue how to get this off of a 3-year-old's head. And it was like the complete skull cap.
Oh my goodness.
So I called one of the guys at our church who was really good at like solving
Problems.
I said, Jim, what do I do? I said, do I put alcohol on it? He said, no, don't do that. It'll harden it. He said, use oil. So I proceeded to use oil to soften the putty.
Olive oil, right?
Olive oil. All over. This child was anointed. Totally anointed.
That explains his calling, I guess.
He was anointed. I mean, he was dripping. And mind you, I was at his head all day.
As a 3-year-old, that's the part where, how did you get him to sit still?
Right.
Because he's an active little boy.
Yeah, he is. And so I was at his head, picking at his head all day. So I finally got it out. But now this guy is like drenched with oil. And it's the next day is Sunday. So I got to give him a bath. So I go give him a bath and I went to wash his hair. He just freaked out. Like he never freaked out like that. He had freaked out like, you may not touch my head again. You know, but this time I actually had to because I had to wash him because he was like covered with oil. So I don't know. Do you remember that?
I don't know if I remember or if I've just heard the story told, you know?
Yeah. But whatever it is, you've had some of these experiences that will mold and shape your personality. So
Mold and shape.
No
mold
pun
and shape
intended.
so maybe it explains who you are today.
I love it.
No?
That's
Putty in my head.
But you're still a fun-loving guy.
Hey, we had a great childhood. You homeschooled us, Mom. And actually, that's part of the story is we'll get into because you were a professional violinist.
I am.
Yes.
She still is.
But I'm saying
She still
past tense because in the origin,
She
when
practices
you
a lot.
when you met Dad, but you were trained by Dorothy DeLay.
Yeah.
You trained in Aspen, Colorado. You're in the St. Louis Symphony.
Yep.
and you meet and fall in love with this pastor in inner city Philadelphia. So let's start, Dad, actually with your origin story a little bit.
Just allergies.
Your origin story a little bit. Everybody's falling asleep.
It's okay.
So let's start with your origin story a little bit from New Jersey. Tell us how you came to meet Jesus.
Yeah, raised in a nominal Roman Catholic home. By my mid-teen years, we weren't a church-going family after my first Holy Communion. By mid-teen years, though, I was a little bit more serious-minded, looking for answers. I would walk across town alone on Sunday morning to the Catholic Church, 45 minutes. It's rather humorous, I would say, that the Mass would end by the priest saying, "The Mass has ended, go in peace." And the congregational response was,
Don't get him laughing again.
"Thanks be to God." And it was like, thank God it's over. I've done my religion for the week. Everybody took off for the parking lot and they were gone. And I'd walk back with no answers. But in God's good providence, I met some guys that became fishing buddies, and they were part of a Bible-believing church. And they introduced me for the first time in my life to people who really knew God in a personal way, born-again people. And I was impressed with their lives. And God didn't turn the lights on right away. I actually ended up going off to college. And it was after my second year of college that the most depressed year of my life, where I was actually thinking of running to California on my motorcycle, was the hippie.
And here
era.
you are.
And I am in California now. Ended up going to California that summer to a Campus Crusade for Christ conference.
Wow.
But it wasn't going in just wanting to escape life. Anyway, circumstances happened. And first week of May, 1970, 55 years and change ago, the Lord just radically changed me and converted me.
We want to take a break from this episode to tell you about Function.
Yeah, Function Health is something that we're very passionate about, and here's why. I have a good buddy. He's a professional bodybuilder. He runs a gym, and recently I asked him if he could kind of help me get into a workout routine, and he said he would if I took blood tests. He will not help me if I don't know what's going on inside of my body. He has seen far too many guys who look healthy, women who, you feel good, but inside you're a mess. You need to know what's going on inside your body.
We chose Function because it's the only health platform that gives you access to the kind of data that most people never see and the insights to actually take action.
Yeah, inside Function, you can test over 160 biomarkers. From heart and hormones to toxins, inflammation, and stress, you can access multi-region MRI and CT scans, all tracked in one secure place over time. I'm telling you, we need you guys to get on this. It's a near 360 view to see what's happening in your body. That's why top health leaders like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, Dr. Jeremy London are all behind Function Health.
Function puts names and numbers to the crashes that no one can see, like testing your vitamin D, zinc, vitamin A, glucose, and insulin.
Yeah, you can learn more and join by using our link. The first 1,000 people to sign up will get $100 off of their membership. Visit www.functionhealth.com/ginger and use code GINGER100. So go to functionhealth.com/ginger and use code GINGER100 at sign up to own your health.
Now back to the episode.
And then he took you into ministry pretty soon.
Yeah. Did another year at the secular college as a psychology major, had more fun teaching the Bible with what little I knew, transferred to a Christian college, went off to seminary. And then I got involved in the Navigators, a good campus organization. That's what brought me down to Philadelphia in Pennsylvania.
And then was it the Navigators that had you serving with the Cambodian refugees who were fleeing Cambodia?
No. After 2 years with the Navigators, wonderful organization, but came to the conviction that, studied the church, parachurch issue, realized that Jesus had established a local church. I needed to be in a local church. I was already in Philadelphia, down at University of Pennsylvania, and I learned about an inner city church in North Philadelphia. And so I was already there. I was single, and I just transplanted myself to North Philadelphia and joined that church, became an elder there. And that's when, about 1.5 miles north of us, Asian refugees were coming over from Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam. And I got involved in a Cambodian ministry, ministering to Cambodian refugees for 5 years, preaching to them through an interpreter and helping them get established. It was a wonderful privilege.
Is it true you were making $9,000 a year?
Yeah. I was a parking lot
When
attendant.
we got married.
So
That was
living in a
1982, it was below poverty level.
Mom was supplementing with her income. I was a parking lot attendant. I like to say I was a shepherd of cars. You know.
But you lived with before Mom. Your bachelor pad with a couple buddies.
Yeah,
and that's when
about
you threw
5
the
guys.
clover or the garlic.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had assignments. One guy would clean that week, another guy would cook that week, and so it was my week to cook. And I was going to make a pasta dish. I was just a technician going by the cookbook, and it came to putting in garlic, and it called for a clove of garlic. And I thought, now what's a clove? Is it one of these segments or if it's the whole thing?
No.
I was going to call one of the single ladies from church, but I was probably too proud to do that. So I put the whole bowl of garlic in. Guys had garlic pushed to the side of their plate.
I bet that everybody was
I don't know how
smelling
the breath
for weeks.
smelled after that, but anyway, I needed a wife.
You needed a wife. So there you are. You're serving Cambodian refugees, which, by the way, has been really cool to see. This is so classic. My dad, he invests himself in people, and you just give your whole self to people.
So faithful.
and make such a big impact.
Yeah.
Years later, I mean, there have been people from that ministry who they themselves or their children have contacted you decades later, and you've gotten back in touch, even out here in California.
Yeah.
It's been amazing to see the impact.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So once Facebook came on, we had the internet because in the 80s when we were doing that, we didn't have it.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have thrown a bulb of garlic into that.
If you had hey Siri, what's a clove of garlic?
How much garlic? What's a bulb?
Right. So once they were on Facebook, the Cambodian refugees, they looked him up and they said, we found Chuck. And then they came to visit us and down in Kansas. Because back then you would lose touch with people, because you just had landlines.
I felt like an archaeological relic. We found Chuck. And we reconnected 30 years later, and it was very sweet.
It was like no time at all had passed because we had gone through a crisis with them. When they came over as boat people, as refugees, they had nothing. And they had just survived the killing fields. And hardly any family was intact. They were weak. They were sick. They were, near starving. And they came. And Chuck was helping them find clothing and get established with food, clothing, shelter. And then started teaching Bible. Well, it was teaching English and teaching Bible, right? But you go through a crisis time of a person's life and you meet their needs. And then if they're converted, that's another crisis, but a wonderful crisis where he was meeting spiritual, eternal needs. And people will not forget you. And when you come back 30 years later, the love and the bond is still there. So, that's very special. Our Cambodian friends are still very special.
Gratitude. We were known as Mr. Chuck and Mrs. Chuck.
That was Mrs. Chuck.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, Mom, tell us a little bit about your origin story.
You mean when I grew up?
Where you grew up, how you came to know the Lord, because that's a very cool story in inner city Philadelphia.
I'll try to give a real short version of that. I grew up in the city of Wilmington, Delaware, in a row home. And brought up in a Roman Catholic church, went to Catholic school for 12 years. It was actually a traumatic experience going to Catholic church school at that time. It couldn't happen nearly as much now, I don't think. But back then, there was a lot of abuse from the teachers. But anyway, I probably prayed my first prayer ever in second grade. In Roman Catholic Church, we were always memorized a prayer. So we just memorized the Hail Mary or, Apostles' Creed. That's how we prayed. It wasn't really talking to God. But I was in second grade, so a teacher, one of the nuns, said that if we didn't go to church on a Sunday, but we could, like if we weren't sick and we skipped church, it was a mortal sin, a sin that you could never be forgiven for, and you would be in hell forever. So as a 7-year-old, it was terrifying because some of our parents didn't go to church every Sunday. And so some of the kids said, well, my parents don't go to church every Sunday. And then the thought of them, this nun was saying, they'll go to hell forever. So I put my head down on the desk. I remember It was his desk with the little inkwells. That's how old I am. And I prayed my first prayer ever. I said, Jesus, or I said, God, help me never to lose my faith in you.
Wow.
And he answered that prayer. But the way he answered that prayer was he disillusioned me over the years with the Catholic Church, because I was always taught the Roman Catholic Church was the one true church.
Mm-hmm.
And I solidly believe that. And it's very impressive from a little girl in a row home. There you see the Pope and all the millions of followers. And you would see him on television with all these followers at the Vatican. And he was wearing these beautiful vestments and had all this power. He was a world leader. And so I thought, wow, this is the one true faith. But what happened was over the years, because of the cruelty of the priests and nuns that we did experience, I became very disillusioned with it. And there was this one priest that was my orchestra conductor that used to throw things at us in anger, curse and swear. But then before a program or a concert, he would want to hold a mass before the concert. Mm-hmm. And before the mass, we always had confession so we could have communion during the mass. And everybody, like 120 kids, involved in the theater, and they would line up like little robots to tell their sins to this priest. And I went, that's crazy. There's no way I'm going into that little confessional box with this guy and telling him my sins when he just cursed and sweared at me and nearly hit somebody with something that he threw. I said, there's no way. So as a young adult, like a 15-year-old, I started really questioning this can't be true. And I saw a lot of abuse. So I think the first step in God answering that prayer was to disillusion me. And then when I was in college, I went to college in Philadelphia. A lot of my friends were born-again Christians, and I saw how they loved the Lord, and they would talk about him all the time with joy, and they would talk as if they had a relationship with him. And I hung with these people because they were really serious about school, but they didn't party and do things that made me feel unsafe. So I hung with them. And one day during an orchestra rehearsal break, I sat there and I was seeing them fellowshipping again. I went, they're always talking about God as if they know him. And I thought, that's either true or it's not. And I went, yeah, but these people really know what they're doing. If they have this relationship, it's probably true. And when I said that to myself, I immediately got jealous. I went, well, why do they have a relationship with God? And I don't have a relationship with God. And that led to my salvation, because they would start inviting me to church and I started going. So yeah, it led to my salvation. And
how did you go to James Boyce's church?
Well, I lived in Center City, Philadelphia, because I had received a full scholarship actually to study with one of the world's finest teachers, Dorothy DeLay. She was the top teacher at Juilliard, and she was also going to be teaching in Philadelphia. And she chose like a handful of us to study with her. And those were the people, the scholarship violinists were the ones I hung with because we were really serious about what we were doing. Mm-hmm. So we hung together, and they were the ones born again. So they'd invite me to church. I lived just blocks from 10th Presbyterian Church, where he was the pastor. And I was so impressed the first time I went there, just because I could understand what he was saying. He was organized, he was intelligent, he was articulate. Because the parish that I grew up in, we would have one Monsignor that would always say the Mass. And that was your assigned priest. Mm-hmm. And the Monsignor we had was old, and he had dementia. So he would start to preach, and then he would just fade off, and then just be silent for a long time. And then he'd start to talk again, but it had no connection to what he just said.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what I grew up with. So when I heard James Montgomery Boyce get up and preach, I was like, wow, you're kidding me. Yeah. I mean, this is phenomenal. I understood what he said, and it was very credible.
Wow. Did you play for his annual conferences?
Oh, I used to play for them before I was converted because it was a gig for me. I got paid. And so I couldn't believe it, because the church was quite large. The building was quite large. And I would just zip right up to pop right up to the balcony as an orchestra player. And everybody's like trying to find parking, and it's wall-to-wall people, and there was standing room only. And I just came up, had a front row seat, from the balcony play. There were people there. Sproul was there. Yeah. Boyce, a lot of people, big names. I didn't know who they were. But the interesting thing was, I was actually hearing truth from the Bible. And so that was the first time I was. And so then when the Lord was working to convert me, he had to have something in there to work with, right? So faith comes by hearing the word of God. So the word of God had to come in first. So then when people would start to tell me about the gospel, it would make sense because I had first heard Bible, and that was in there.
Yeah. So how'd you meet Dad?
Well, I met him actually before I was converted because some of my colleagues also went to 10th Press, but they also went to this inner city. Well, it was in North Philadelphia. It was a real rough section of Philadelphia where there was this Cambodian refugee ministry where Dad was a member. And the pastor there, it was like in North Philly, there was a lot of gang activity there. It was a really dangerous area. But they would go there. What was attracting them was, number one, a church that was really preaching the truth. But number two, the pastor was a Juilliard grad. And we were all musicians. And that was really attracting them. So both, the way the church was a good church, and the pastor was being a Juilliard grad. So they went there and they invited me. And the first time I met Dad, I wasn't converted. And we went out to lunch together with a group of singles. And
I should tell that part, right?
I want to hear that part.
Yeah, actually, it was only a short stint of time that they came from the music school to our inner city church. And the connection was when I was with the Navigators in West Philadelphia, one of the violinists who had witnessed to Mom was tying in with us because he had Navigator experience from Tennessee. And I was actually taking him out on campus to witness. And he was one of the ones who ended up witnessing to Mom. So it was that Navigator connection with this Christian man, Harvey, who was one of the Christian violin students, that inclined them to come when I left the Navs and went to the inner city church. So they came for a short stint of time. The first time Mom came, I looked at this cute girl and I said, well, I'm a single man. I was attracted to her superficially, and I said, I wonder if she's a Christian. Well, let's see if she takes communion. So as a Catholic, it was her habit to take communion. She took communion, and I thought, she's a Christian. So we all went out to lunch afterwards, and I thought, well, she's a Christian. So stupid me, in the presence of all these people, I asked her for her testimony.
I had no clue what a testimony was. Yeah. It's like he's asking me in front of all these people. Put me on the spot.
I so embarrassed her. Then one of the single ladies, Rosemary, chewed me out afterwards, and she said, do you realize how much you embarrassed that girl? No. Well, anyway, the next time Mom showed up at church, she had been converted.
It was about 6 months later.
6 months later. And I was teaching an adult Sunday school class, men and women. She was sitting in the front row. Halfway through the lesson, she gets up and walks out.
And I left the church.
And I'm thinking, what did I say now? But
yeah, I was sick.
Oh, no.
So I just got up. I couldn't stand it any longer. And I went and got a bus and went home.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So anyway, I was attracted to her. She had a stint in Italy. She was playing in an opera orchestra in Italy. And I was a pastor. I was technically her pastor at that time. And I wrote a letter that I thought was kind of pastoral, but I was interested also. And another single guy from church wrote her a letter. He got a response, and I didn't. And I thought, I'm dead in the water here. But
but he wasn't. I actually had a crush on him, but I didn't. I was very serious-minded, and I had grown up in a house where my father was a very angry man, and it was a traumatic experience for me and for my siblings and my mother. And so the thought of, like, how do you manage all this, having a relationship with a guy and this and that, I wasn't sure. So what I had done as a young Christian, I prayed, and I said, Lord, I really like this man, and the Lord knew why I did. He was kind, and I always say he was kindest. I married the kindest man in the universe. He was gentle with children.
Until that
church.
Man had a son who's kinder, but
he was gentle with children and would stoop down and relate to them. I'd never seen anything like that. His relationships in the church were all wholesome and healthy, and he had a reputation. Everybody I knew spoke well of him, whether they were in his church or outside of the church. So I was very attracted to him. And I loved his teaching, because I was converted by that time. It made sense. So I was very attracted to him. But I told the Lord, I said, Lord, I don't know how to manage this. So I'm not going to give any clue to him that I have a crush on him. Like, he's not going to know it. Lord, you work that out.
And this is how the Lord did it in his providence. Diana's best friend was a violist named Lisa. And one day I can remember where I was in the church building. She was also a member of our church. And I asked Lisa for Diana Solomon's address or contact information. And Lisa, who was sworn to silence about her attraction to me, just gushed open and said, she has such a crush on you. And, oh, really? So at that point, I knew the coast was clear for me to, without threat to my ego, to express my interest in her. Made an appointment to go down to her apartment. And at that time in my diary, I had a list of things I was attracted to about her, from the superficial down to the more spiritual and substantial. And we sort of officially began our relationship. You like me, I like you. We started our relationship.
So did you go visit her? And
I did.
What did you say, though? You made an appointment. You said, I have interest, or was this a pastoral visit?
Well, he sat on the couch and he was serious. He was a serious guy.
He's very serious.
He also has a great sense of humor, but as you just saw, he has a sense of humor. He can laugh. But he was serious. And I know the consequence of marrying the wrong man. And it made a lifelong impression upon me. And so the fact that he was serious and the fact that he had thought it through, and he said, I have prayed about this.
Yeah.
And I have thought this through. I've been observing you, and these are he told me, these are the things that I've observed in you. And he opened his little notebook. There was probably about 10 things, like he said, from the superficial. And to me, that was like gold, because this man was not just flirting, just trying to, no, he was serious. He had thought about it. It would, and I appreciated that because I wanted somebody who was spiritually minded and who was going to be thoughtful and careful about entering a relationship, because it's obviously it's a relationship that I always say will impact every second of every minute of every hour of your life.
And generations to come.
Yes, and generations to come.
Yes.
And in fact, I remember I had a roommate who was dating a man who was an angry man. I came home one day and she had a bronze coffee table that the bronze top lifted off, and it was across the room and bent. And it was from her boyfriend having an anger attack. And I warned her. I said, this is going to not only affect your life, but your children's lives.
Wow.
And that's because growing up in the environment you did, that really shaped you, not only in choosing Dad, who is the kindest man in the universe.
Absolutely.
But in the ministry that you're doing now, because you are a professional violinist. You meet Dad doing inner city ministry. You really effectively gave up the pursuit of the professional side of that to raise 3 kids, myself and my brother and sister, of which we're eternally grateful. And what you did, you invested all of your discipline, diligence, expertise, skill into your kids, which is, to see Chuck now and the success he's having, to see Valerie and all the success she's had. And it's you can see how much you've invested in your kids, but you've picked up that pursuit of the violin in recent years because you've combined it with your 2 passions, really, which is, so tell us about, here I am, a long question again. Tell us about, so you grew up in a difficult environment at home, and so that shaped who you pursued in marriage, but it's also shaping what you're doing now with your nonprofit for SWAN.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I'm eternally grateful for the Lord having, choosing to save me by his grace, because that was the most eternally impactful, life-changing impact of my life, which guided me to Dad, and was determined I would marry a kind man because I knew it would impact my my life, my children's lives, and for generations, right? And the question you wanted me to
SWAN,
get how did it direct me to SWAN? Well, I actually, I practiced my violin feverishly. I mean, like I was an overachiever. And what I was basically doing in that...
as a kid,
when you experience abuse and trauma, it takes away your voice, your power, and your relationships. And I certainly was an isolated child. Don't tell anybody. And we weren't allowed to do a lot. We were cut off from relationships. I didn't have a voice and I didn't have power, nor did my mother have power. So the violin was supposed to give me power, which it did. It gave me that full scholarship to study with Dorothy DeLay, and I never looked back. I had power. And it gave me relationships and a voice, but it was my way of survival. I would practice so many hours. I had an infection in my neck that would just hang out, and I would put that violin next to that and practice 10, 12, 15 hours in a day, overachieving to do what I did. So it was a kind of a love, but also pain, right?
How does abuse take away your voice?
Well, wow. I survived in my house by being invisible. And you don't have an opinion. It's always whatever that person wants is what that's...
The abuser.
The abuser, it gets his way. So if you're smart, you just accommodate that abuser. And I used to be able to appease somehow I would manipulate, like I knew how to make him switch his gears to reset. And I would do it with humor or somehow. That's not the role of a child. I took that role on. But the best way to survive the situation was to go along with whatever that person wants and to be very quiet. So you're going along with something whether you agree with it or not. And you're also invisible.
So you're losing your identity. You're losing your power. You're losing your voice and relationships, but you're surviving.
You're surviving. And so the violin was a means to that end. And, back then, nobody talked about trauma or abuse. In fact, when there used to be on television, my father would watch and he would see abuse hotlines. And he said to my mother, if these abuse hotlines were advertised when I was raising the kids, I'd be in jail.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I made that transition. So all I knew as a young single person was how to isolate myself in a practice room, practice like crazy because I was going to have power by having a job so that if anybody ever treated me like that, I could tell that person to hit the road.
And you thought that?
Oh, absolutely. I thought nobody's going to treat me like that or my children like that because I would ask my mother, why don't you leave him? She said, because I can't support you kids. And I said, well, I'm going to be able to support because if anybody treats me like that, that person's going to hit the road. And so I was less of a victim. I mean, I was a victim in a certain way, but God works all things together for good. And he was giving me a calling. And I look back at that. I know what it feels like to be powerless, voiceless, and live that every moment, every day, be scared. When Dad came home, we went upstairs. We were scared. It was, Dad's home. It wasn't like, let's run to the door.
I remember I don't have many memories like this, but I remember the one time you were talking to Pa and he got really angry that you took off your glasses. He cornered you against the wall. And
I wasn't cornered, but I thought the old man was going to hit me.
Right.
And I took my glasses off.
Yeah, not cornered, but he was up against,
he was red-faced. Because I was trying to tell him the gospel.
You were sharing about Jesus. Yeah. And then you just calmly came in the kitchen. I'll never forget. And you asked Mom, does your father have a gun?
Because he had stormed upstairs. Yeah. She said yes. She said, we're out of here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we all jumped in our station wagon and took off. I'll never forget
10
that.
10 and 8 years old, yeah. Yeah. But God wonderfully redeemed. This is what we look at. God redeemed all of that upbringing for the founding of SWAN.
Right.
And now she's being of help to hundreds of kids.
Well,
oftentimes that trauma does create a calling.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like if you look at it can cause people to fold and oftentimes people react in all sorts of ways. But for what God's done in your life is you've not allowed it to keep you down, but you've allowed it to motivate you to be an agent of change.
She's an advocate.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to see your story because SWAN started in Philadelphia at 10th Presbyterian Church where James Boyce preached. On a Sunday, you were visiting with your friend because you hadn't gone, you'd go maybe once a year. And you came out of that Sunday service. Years later, all your children were in college, grown, so essentially empty nesters. And you'd been inspired with a vision to use your talents as a musician to help children who come from equally difficult backgrounds.
Yeah, it was interesting because it was Sinclair Ferguson preaching that night. She didn't hear a word of the sermon because this whole idea was formulating. And I said to her, you should have wasted one of my sermons rather than not hearing Sinclair Ferguson. But in an hour, the whole vision for SWAN was formulated in that evening. They were doing Angel Tree during Christmas, which is providing gifts for children of the incarcerated once a year. But she thought, how can we do something more permanently to benefit these children? Yeah. And SWAN was born.
Wow.
It's amazing. We want to get into SWAN. So what does SWAN stand for?
SWAN is an acronym that stands for Scaling Walls a Note at a Time, and it's swanforkids.org.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it provides mentoring for these kids.
Yeah.
You've seen some children come into this program who would really remind you of yourself, traumatized from home.
We're serving some of Lancaster City's most traumatized children, and we serve them through music, through mental health, mentoring, and Bible. And it's a beautiful and healing, powerful combination when you put music, mental health, and Bible together. It has been life-saving for some children and certainly life-changing for many.
Yeah. Some of the stories are, devastating. Children who've witnessed things that
should never witness.
Would traumatize adults. Whether it was their siblings being murdered, their parents being killed, drug use,
overdose deaths.
One of the saddest things is here you are providing opportunities. One of the things SWAN does is allows these children to perform pretty quickly. Like you bring them in, you teach them instruments, you put them together, and then you'll have them perform annually at a gala or to different events. And the children step out on stage, they're dressed to the nines, and everyone's clapping, standing ovations for them. That's really impactful. But one of the most tragic things is one of the biggest fights you've had is getting whoever the caretakers are of the children to even have them show up for these events, because the people they're living with just don't even care about bringing them to the mentorship or...
Well, we're serving children affected by parental incarceration. So sometimes both of their parents may be in prison. And sometimes one or the other is carrying and it's tough. Some of them might be addicted to substances, and which case they're not so aware and involved. They might have mental health issues of their own. Sometimes it's children having children. And then there are a lot that do care, but mom might be working 3 jobs. And so I think there are a lot of people that do care or don't want to repeat this cycle for their children, but they're in a bind. So life is tough and it can become hopeless. I've noticed that parents love coming to the concerts and they'll get their cameras out. They're so proud. They want to see their children succeed. It's just that they might not be able to get their kids to the classes or to sign up for things too. Life is tough.
I love how you say it. Like this is the line I've heard you say so many times. It just takes one loving mentor to turn a kid around. And going to the SWAN events was one of the most impactful things that we've done, because you see these students up there. And like Jared said, meeting with them before, they are beaming. They're so excited to be there. They have on like a pretty fancy dress, and here they are getting to perform in front of, like a mayor, and they might get invited to the governor's mansion, things that, they probably never would have expected would be an opportunity for them. And here they are. It can turn that difficulty around, even if it's just a weekly thing where they know, oh, wow, like somebody cares for me, somebody's looking out for me, and gives them a vision of where they can be in 10 years from now and how somebody does see them and somebody does care. And that's a big thing that I think it's so encouraging to see what you've done. And, just your heart for these kids. And you call them, you even say my kids or our kids, because I think that's the level of care that you extend, and your whole team, just investing in these kids, pouring into them. And it's just so impactful.
It really is. And it's life-changing. We've had very quick results that were astounding. We had a little child who had experienced such trauma that he became it's called selective mutism, where they stop talking. And he had not been talking for several years. And then he was angry, and understandably so, from what he was exposed to. His grandmother signed him up for SWAN, and we gave him a teacher, a man who was just very fatherly and kind Christian man, who was his teacher and was teaching him guitar. And literally within weeks, that child started talking. And he would run home from school excited, and he would show his grandmother the new chords that he was learning, and he started talking.
Wow.
Music is powerful. We use music because, first of all, you start with what you have. I'm a musician, and I know the research that says how music can help all of us emotionally. We can express ourselves without a word. Children do not have words for what they've gone through. They don't have words. And a lot of children, it's normal, and so they're expressing themselves. It gives all of us joy. Our cortisol levels, which are our stress hormones, they just drop. Our happy hormones rise within 15 minutes of playing an instrument. So that's certainly healing. But then we embed, SWAN for Kids embeds mental health workers within our classes. So they're assisting our music classes. So the mental health worker is drumming with the kids or singing with the kids. And when a child triggers, which they will, someone right there that they know and trust, a certified mental health worker is right there to help, so they can take that child out of the class and help. But then we also, we have a 3-hour after-school program and a 5-week full-day summer music camp. So during that time, the children will get the group music lesson, the private music lesson.
Wow.
They get, the mental health worker is in those classes assisting, but the mental health worker will teach a social emotional class or a trauma management class and meet with the child one-on-one. And then the child also gets a Bible class, which in the 14 years that we've been running, we always have that as optional on our application because we don't force that. But we've never had a parent sign off like that they didn't want it. And we've never had a kid that didn't love it. So in the Bible class, they're not only learning gospel lessons, but they're also being asked, how can I pray for you? And the teacher is very careful to pray for each child by name and then pray for their concern. So now a child's being listened to and they're getting their voice. Their relationships, they're getting relationships, their voice, and they're getting power. If a child, because of trauma, will often have difficulty learning, so they'll maybe fail academically and behaviorally, right? And when they perform, what happens? The whole room is smiling, their audience is smiling, they're clapping, they get immediate success. We had one little boy who was scared to death, of course, for his first performance. Of course, we do it with groups, makes it easier. And we just focused them. Look, your one goal is now, you've been given lessons. Now you have something beautiful to give back. So we're thinking about the people we're giving this beautiful music to. And our goal is to just put one smile on one person's face. And so when they go in the room and everybody's smiling and clapping, one of our little students, his name was Noah, afterward, he said, I feel like a superhero.
Oh,
right?
That's so precious.
Yeah, he had succeeded. So we do see results right away. And they're pretty
incredible.
Dramatic. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, we love you guys. We love what you're doing. Your lives are heroic. I know I want to be like you when I grow up, Dad, one day. And
I think you've surpassed me in a number of ways.
No, we love how you guys have poured into our children as well. They love having you guys come. They hate seeing you guys go, but it's always a comfort knowing you'll be back soon.
Yeah.
They really do. They have a lot of fun with Grandma and Grandpa.
I can't wait till I get back each time. And thank you, Jinger. She's really faithful. You send us pictures and videos.
Oh, yeah.
And I always tell, during the day, I'll just keep looking at those little pictures. They always make me smile.
We just got to get Mom on an iPhone because
One of these days.
she's the only one in the family with an Android.
That is a hard sell.
Oh,
Try.
man.
But I'll tell you what, those videos come through really
Now
clear
they come through not grainy. That's what she said.
Yeah.
She said, start sending me those videos because we had to keep her in the group, the family group chat about normal stuff, but never sending videos because they come through grainy. But
The
now
same recharger now.
they fixed it.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, that's helpful too.
The bridge has been built.
Oh, do they really?
Oh, yeah, same
Crazy.
recharger.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. They're bridging the gap.
I like it.
Hey, I want to tell everyone to support SWAN for Kids. I think one of the best ways to support is to go to swanforkids.org
SWAN, the number 4,
Yep.
kids.org.
and then /give, right?
Something like
And
that.
then
We have a donate button.
You have a donate button. But then to just sign up for like $5, $10, $12 monthly makes a huge impact for these children.
It really does. We need, on our best year, we can serve 200 children in Lancaster, but there are well more than 3,000 that qualify in Lancaster. And in the United States, I'd love to scale it because in the United States, 1 in 14 children has had a parent in prison at some point in their life.
Yeah, it's one of those things that when you sign up to give monthly, initially you put it in the budget and then you forget about it, but that money is residually making an impact. It's allowing kids to get instruments. It's allowing mentors to be paid hourly to serve the kids. And something that might be so insignificant for us, $12 a month, $15, $20 a month, is allowing a child to have the highlight of their week or a highlight of their year where they get to get out of a home where it's screaming, yelling, the TV's on constantly, they're being ignored in some instances, and to go to an environment where they're being made eye contact, they're welcomed, they feel like a hero, they're being taught music, their lives are being transformed. And for those of you giving, it might seem insignificant to you, but it's making a huge impact.
Well, if you give, you're part of the journey.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way a community benefiting organization can do what we do, right? And I see the motivation in Scripture from James 1:27, where it says true religion is helping those widows and orphans in distress.
Yep.
And we have a lot of fatherless children in distress.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Mom and Dad, thanks for being here.
It's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Love you guys.
Yep,
Love you too.
All right. We'll see you next week.